I am the cherished daughter of the Prime Minister's household, and my greatest daily joy is feeding around. One night, as I tossed the last packet of cloud slice cakes toward a stray dog, strange text suddenly flooded my vision. You're doomed, you vicious supporting character. How dare you treat the future sinister villainous overlord like a dog? After humiliating him like this, he'll slaughter your entire family first. I stared at the trembling black figure hiding in the alley. Immediately snatched back the cloud cake, threw it on the ground, and stomped it into pieces. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Damn, is the villainess trying to make sure she dies in the worst possible way? No wonder the villainess is evil from childhood. You might as well have fed him like a dog. Squinting, I stepped slowly into the alley and finally got a clear look at that enormous black shadow. These strange words spoke true. He was no stray dog at all, but clearly a youth of 16 or 17. The boy was filthy and reeked, his heavy cloak caked with mud and unidentifiable grime, clinging damply to his trembling frame. A pair of sharp, icy eyes locked onto me. Give it back to me. He lunged toward me, and I swiftly kicked out. The shattered pieces of cloud cake all fell into the moat, and I successfully grabbed his wrist. What's so great about this lousy thing? Come on. Follow me for some real feasting. I dragged him all the way home, pulling and tugging until we finally made it. My long-waiting aunt stood at the door with a long stick in hand, letting out a sudden deafening shout when she saw us. Shoo Lingy, what have you picked up this time? You're done for. I'm writing to your mother right now. After finishing my bath, I walked through the corridor where the minor bird was kept, bent down to scoop up the stray cat I'd picked up last month, dodged the pouncing puppy, and finally reached the small kitchen. The aunt's previously gloomy face had already brightened, watching motionless as the boy wolfed down his food. The golden roasted duck leg entered his mouth with a crisp crunch, releasing an explosion of scalding, fragrant oil. The crispy skin wrapped around the firm leg meat disappeared in just a few bites. On the wooden table still sat tender stir-fried greens, rich bone broth, and glistening slices of spicy fish. By now he'd eaten so ravenously he'd forgotten the world around him. Who would have thought this future villainous big shot was such a gluttonous little boy in his youth? The villainess doesn't seem that vicious after all. At least she gave the poor thing a meal. The author got scolded into behaving. I'm quite satisfied with this adapted version. Originally the antagonist was supposed to nearly freeze to death this snowy night, barely surviving by fighting dogs for food. This is so much better. Woo woo. I turned to look out the window against the pitch-black night. A few snowflakes had actually begun fluttering down. The boy buried his head in his meal, while my aunt and I waited quietly. During this time, I glimpsed the truth of this world through the written words. Turns out, this was a world within a book. Those words were called Danmu, bullet comments, and the boy before me was the story's greatest villain. Named Pei Ziyu, just 2 months younger than me, he was also the young emperor who would later kill his father and brother. As the malicious female antagonist, I not only opposed the original female lead at every turn but also repeatedly sabotaged the villain's plans. My eyes widened abruptly as they landed on this line. Having grown up reading capital city storybooks, I naturally knew that so-called villainous supporting female characters rarely met good ends. I wanted to keep reading. But the floating text suddenly twisted and vanished in an instant. Pei Ziyu chose that exact moment to set down his chopsticks, staring straight at me. I tilted my head and followed procedure by asking, "What's your name? Where do you live? Are your parents still alive? Do you need us to take you home?" He remained silent, his pitch-black pupils devoid of any light, giving off an unsettling vibe. Rubbing the goosebumps on my arms, I muttered under my breath, forget it. I'll help you find a place tomorrow." He suddenly spoke up, his voice hoarse, his gaze stubborn. "My name is Pei Ziyu, sister. I'm not going home, I'm so scared. Can I sleep with you tonight?" Sleeping with me was naturally out of the question. He had no idea how coveted my bed was. Even the most pampered tabby in the house, Cotton, had to wait his turn like everyone else. But Pei Ziyu was stubborn, barred from entering my boudoir. He simply stood guard at the door. I watched the falling snow grow heavier, fearing he might freeze to death tonight as the barrage of comments had warned. With no other choice, I had someone bring a small couch and place it in the outer room. The commotion lasted until midnight when I grew drowsy. Just as I was about to retire to bed, I heard him whisper softly, "Sister, I don't want to go home. Will you take me in, please? I'll make you lots of money in the future." I nodded and quickly drifted off to sleep. Then early the next morning, I instructed the butler to dress him properly and send him home. What a joke. I've been learning accounting from my aunt since I was 10, and in these 6 years, I've managed countless shops. Do you really think I can't tell a losing deal when I see one? I just hadn't expected that the butler would return with the boy completely unchanged after barely the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn. He wiped the sweat from his brow and whispered in my ear. "Second young miss, this boy's birth mother was a courtesan who threw herself into a well and died just days ago. If we truly send him back to Ella with a curated garden, I fear they'll raise him to become a male courtesan." My mind went blank for a moment, leaving me speechless as the words before me reappeared. "Author, did you really change it? Why can't the villain escape being a male courtesan? A villain's life matters too. No, female supporting character, don't do it, if you really send him back. Pei Ziyu will absolutely hate you forever." The earlier comment is right, this is the biggest reason the villain turns dark. As a child, I was tormented by my own mother. After she died, I was abused by those damned perverts, not a single patch of skin left unharmed, and my mind became twisted beyond recognition. My face instantly paled, and I finally grabbed Pei Ziyu's hand to seal the deal. "Don't worry, from now on you'll stay with me. This young lady will take care of you." As soon as these words were spoken, not only did Pei Ziyu's eyes light up, but the barrage comments also started flooding the screen. "A female supporting character, you're such a sweetheart. I'll never call you the vicious supporting role again." The author finally did something decent and switched us to the wholesome channel. But if the antagonist isn't at Lanchun Garden, how will they meet the female lead later? Won't the entire plot collapse? I don't know if the plot has collapsed, but my aunt Madam Lin is certainly on the verge of a breakdown. Her ruler came down heavily as her cheeks flushed crimson with anger. "Shu Lingy, I never said anything when you kept picking up animals before. But now you're sheltering an actual living person. You're still a child yourself. Are you planning to take him with you when you return to the capital? How am I supposed to explain this to your mother?" I used my gaze to calm Pei Ziyu, who was about to climb in through the window, while softly replying, "Aunt, don't worry. I've already written to mother about Xiao Yu's situation. If I don't take care of him, how will he ever grow up properly? From now on, I'll be his elder sister and guide him well." My aunt hesitated for a long moment, studying me repeatedly before finally sighing. "Forget it. I'll just say one thing, you need to keep an eye on that child. He's not as harmless as he appears." I frowned and instinctively retorted, "Auntie, what are you talking about? Our Xiaoyu is the most innocent." Afraid my aunt wouldn't believe me, I casually picked up a piece of cloud slice cake from the table and tossed it toward the window. In an instant, Pei Ziyu stood up and caught the pastry with his mouth. After chewing twice, he swallowed it whole, his eyes sparkling brightly. "Thank you, sister, it's delicious. Ha ha ha. Did everyone see that? The villain has truly become a puppy. What adorable babies these two are. I'm dying laughing. Someone please check on whether the aunt is alive or dead. Truth is, our Xiaoyu's mind is more full of schemes than a beehive has holes. Too bad the female lead just won't believe it, ha ha ha." As I watched Pei Ziyu tilting his head to look at me, I increasingly felt he resembled the puppy at home. From then on, I had a little tail following me everywhere. Whether I went to check on the shop or to buy food, Pei Ziyu would follow me step by step. So in the second month of Pei Ziyu's stay, I begged my aunt to hire a tutor for him, but the white-bearded old man arrived cheerfully and left in a huff. I sent a maid to inquire and only then learned what a ridiculous scene had just unfolded. Before the lesson began, the tutor said he would test him, having previously asked and received confirmation that the boy had indeed studied characters and learned phrases. Yet when the tutor posed several questions in succession, Pei Ziyu couldn't answer any, forcing him to ask what exactly the boy had studied. Showing not a trace of shame, Pei Ziyu parted his thin lips and let flow a stream of bawdy verses set to melodious tunes, which struck the tutor's ears with full force. This so enraged the tutor that he stormed off in a huff. Hearing this, my expression darkened completely. Pei Ziyu was clearly doing this on purpose. Female lead, don't argue with the villain. All these things were forced upon him by his mother. Yes, he had no choice either. Weird. Am I the only one who thinks the villain did it deliberately? Any normal person would know you can't just casually sing that kind of song. Could it be that the female supporting character hasn't paid attention to the villain for a long time, and this is his way of trying to get her attention? I took a deep breath and immediately headed towards Pei Ziyu's study. By the time I arrived, Pei Ziyu had already completely collapsed on the small couch nearby. Seeing me enter, he scrambled up in one swift motion, grabbed my sleeve and started acting coquettishly. "Big sister, you're finally here. You haven't come home to sleep these past 2 days. Xiao Yu hasn't seen you in so long." The anger in my heart subsided a little. I'd been busy these past 2 days inspecting farmlands with Auntie and had indeed somewhat neglected Pei Ziyu. As if seeing through my intentions, Pei Ziyu spoke first. I don't want to study with the tutor, that way I won't get to see big sister all day. His expression was downcast, his long lashes veiling the emotions in his eyes, as if he were on the verge of tears. I patted the young man's head with a mix of amusement and exasperation, promising, "What nonsense are you talking? We'll be together for most of our lives, what's the rush over these few days?" He looked up blankly, his dark eyes fixed intently on me once more. "Sis, are you serious? Will we really stay together forever?" My eyes darted, instantly understanding his little scheme, and I coaxed him with a smile. "Of course, as long as Xiao Yu attends class properly, sis will always stay with you." Hearing this, Pei Ziyu finally grinned and grabbed my hand with astonishing strength. "Then let's pinky swear, sister must always stay with Xiao Yu, and if we break the promise," I asked him in return, "what happens if we break it?" But he said nothing more, only flashing me an extraordinarily bright smile before pressing his thumb firmly against mine. Fortunately, Pei Ziyu truly turned over a new leaf afterward, attending classes diligently every day and completing his schoolwork quite well. Just as my anxious heart finally settled and I planned to take Pei Ziyu to the hot spring villa for a few days of relaxation, a letter from the capital arrived. The stove fire burned fiercely as I stared at the black ink strokes, growing increasingly agitated. This time, Mother's letter addressed only 2 matters. First, to inform me that I had been selected as the princess's study companion and to urge my return to the capital. Second, to instruct me to find adoptive parents for Pei Ziyu. She wouldn't allow Pei Ziyu to stay by my side. Just as I was pinching the bridge of my nose pondering countermeasures, the puppy in my arms seemed to sense something and scrambled down to the ground. The next second, Pei Ziyu's figure appeared at the doorway as he cheerfully announced, "Elder sister, I've brought you Li Ji's peach slice pastries." I was startled when I saw him striding toward me, crumpling the letter in my hand, familiar as ever. He climbed onto the daybed and rested his head on my lap, looking every bit like someone seeking praise. My heart pounded wildly as I stiffly patted his head. He narrowed his eyes, then suddenly spoke the next moment. "What was sister doing just now?" I forced a stiff smile and awkwardly changed the subject. Nothing. Xiao Yu, why don't you brew some Junshan silver needle tea? We can have it with the peach slice pastries. His dark, pool-like eyes studied me for a long moment before he finally responded with detached indifference. "All right then, sister must wait here for me." The moment Pei Ziyu's figure completely disappeared beyond the doorway, I immediately lit the letter in my hand and swiftly tossed it into the brazier. Pei Ziyu returned quickly. After setting down the teacup he was carrying, he suddenly spoke. "Aunt just ordered the maids from the outer courtyard to pack belongings. Is sister preparing for a long journey?" I froze for a moment, then forced myself to speak calmly. "Yes, I still need to visit the estate in the next couple of days, so I asked my aunt to prepare things for me in advance. Xiao Yu, it's getting late. I should go rest now." Before I could even think of a solution to the problem, Pei Ziyu's trusting gaze made my heart pound with panic, causing me to quicken my steps as I left. Just as I was about to step over the threshold, a long absent barrage of bullet comments flooded in, freezing me in place. "Stop running. Supporting female lead, you're really done for this time. You didn't burn that letter completely at all. It's over, it's over." Look at the villain's expression. This is the start of their dark transformation. The next instant, I was yanked back inside with tremendous force as the door slammed shut right before my eyes. A scorching pair of arms tightened around my waist. The room fell deathly quiet, save for the occasional crackle of silver charcoal sparks bursting in the flames. Warm breath brushed against my neck as Pei Ziyu's voice, thick with stubborn obsession, whispered hauntingly by my ear. "Sister, why did you lie to me? You clearly don't want me anymore." "But sister, guess what? Do you think you can walk out that door today?" With great difficulty, I turned around and pressed my hand against Pei Ziyu's shoulder. "It's not like that, Xiao Yu, I'm just trying to figure things out." Yet the corners of his eyes instantly flushed crimson as he stared at me stubbornly, demanding, "Figure things out? Are you figuring out how to leave me behind, or how to abandon me to someone else?" I watched as tears gradually welled up in his eyes, his brows furrowing uncontrollably, like an abandoned dog about to be discarded by its owner. "Oh my God, female supporting character baby. Quickly hug him and give him some sense of security. He genuinely thinks you're going to abandon him." My body stiffened, unsure of what to do. But seeing the hope gradually fading from Pei Ziyu's eyes, I sighed and still reached out to wrap my arms around his neck, pressing his head against the crook of my neck. "All right, my dear ancestor. I won't think of any more strategies, we'll head straight to the capital in 3 days. Don't worry, I'll protect you in front of mother. I stroked his half-loose hair, catching glimpses of smooth black strands intertwined with striking crimson, vibrant and full of youthful energy. Only then did I finally see clearly that Pei Ziyu was still just a boy. In his youth, he was vibrant, elated for half a day over his elder sister's casual praise, yet equally unsettled by her every move. He would cross the entire town to buy pastries his sister liked, spurred by an offhand remark, or shed anxious tears over wild imaginings swirling in his heart. This is how boys are, possessing the most sincere hearts, the most intense emotions, the most genuine souls. I recall the barrage comments describing that gloomy future emperor antagonist who rose to high position, and still find Pei Ziyu's childishness preferable by comparison. The person atop me sniffled, somewhat awkwardly turning his head aside as he muttered, "Sister's credibility has dropped in my eyes. I don't feel reassured." "Then what do you want to do?" I lay on the bed as the candlelight flickered beyond the curtains. His gaze penetrated through layers of drapes, enveloping me in discomfort, rolling over. Realization struck me belatedly. Pei Ziyu, that rascal, had actually set a trap for me here. When Pei Ziyu said he'd keep watch over me, he truly meant it, staring without sleep for 3 whole days. Only when his last trunk was loaded onto the carriage did his heart finally settle. Then, with dark circles under his eyes, he stubbornly squeezed into my carriage amid my aunt's shameless curses. The maid, Xiaodao, was pushed off the carriage by him, and he comfortably rested his head on my lap, clutching my skirt tightly with both hands. Who understands this scene? It made my maternal love turn impure. How should I put it? The female supporting character and the villain are becoming unexpectedly shippable. Whoever came up with the dog personification for Xiaoyu is an absolute genius. Helplessly, I brought the pastry to his lips. Still with closed eyes, he followed the scent and parted his lips to take a bite. Seeing him drowsy like this, I spread my palms flat beneath him, terrified he might drop crumbs on the brocade carriage seats and earn us another scolding from Xiaodao. When Pei Ziyu opened his eyes, he was a demon child descended upon the world, but when he closed them, he became excessively well-behaved. After slowly eating the pastry, he even lowered his head and extended his pink tongue to meticulously lick the crumbs from my palm. One of his canine teeth occasionally nibbled at my fingers, as if itching for mischief. The scorching dampness and tingling sensation instantly flushed my face crimson. Before my mind could catch up, my palm had already lightly smacked his cheek. The slight pain made him clench his teeth as he pitifully grabbed my hand, letting out a whimper before completely passing out. My face burned crimson, and I finally agreed with my aunt's words. Pei Ziyu truly had no sense of shame. If mother were to see this scene, he'd surely be hung up in the woodshed for a beating. The carriage traveled for 5 days before finally arriving in Shangjing today, yet Pei Ziyu's appearance successfully wiped the smile off my mother's beaming face. But all the servants in the Chancellor's residence knew that once the second young miss made a decision, there was no changing it, so I struck while the iron was hot, not only arranging Pei Ziyu's room opposite mine but also securing him a place at Honghu Academy. That very night, when all was quiet and still, the agonized wails of the Prime Minister's second daughter being severely beaten could be heard echoing far into the distance. Early the next morning, I boarded the carriage bound for the academy with Pei Ziyu. Pei Ziyu frowned as he looked at my severely swollen palm, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Sister, from now on I'll obey you properly, never defy madam again, and study diligently. I'm sorry, it's all my fault." Seeing his obedient demeanor, I couldn't help but pat his head and admonish, "Xiaoyu, you don't need to deliberately please anyone. Just growing up healthy and safe is your elder sister's greatest wish." Upon hearing this, Pei Ziyu slightly widened his eyes and gave an awkward in response. The tips of his ears already dyed crimson with blush. Upon arriving at the academy, I stood on the path to bid farewell to Pei Ziyu. The Honghu Academy divided its teaching areas for male and female students into eastern and western courtyards, which were in completely opposite directions. But just as I lifted my foot to leave, I heard an irritating voice calling from afar. Well, if it isn't Miss Xu II, reeking of filthy lucre. 3 years apart, you must have fleeced quite a fortune in Luocheng, haven't you?" The youngest son of the Minister of Rights, Zhao Center, swaggered over with his entourage in tow, but when he got a clear look at Pei Ziyu's face, his gaze froze instantly, and his expression turned somewhat unpleasant. After a long pause, he finally forced a stiff smile and sneered. "I heard it was a member of the Xu family's collateral branch enrolling today, but this person looks remarkably similar to that low-born bastard I saw at the brothel. I suddenly turned my head to look at Pei Ziyu, only to see his entire body trembling, veins bulging on his forehead, his hands clenched into tight fists at his sides. Just as tensions reached their peak, the arrival of the Grand Princess completely extinguished the brewing conflict. I watched as Pei Ziyu was taken to the eastern courtyard by a distant cousin, feeling inexplicably uneasy in my heart. After enduring this state for an entire day, when classes finally ended, I immediately pulled Pei Ziyu into the carriage, demanding an explanation from him. After hearing his words, I fell into prolonged silence. When Zhao Center was young, the Vice Minister of Rites once took him to Lanchun Garden for pleasure-seeking. Meanwhile, Pei Ziyu was pushed out by his own mother to take care of the patron's child. This reads like Ziyu's tragic memoir Wu Wu. At that time Zhao Center didn't understand what his father was doing, but the sounds alone made everything clear, and he became determined to barge in. Xiaoyu's mother had assigned him the task of stopping Zhao Center, or else he would face cruel punishment. In the end, Zhao Center could only vent all his anger on Xiaoyu. That night, Xiaoyu was beaten until one of his eyes was nearly blinded, he coughed up several mouthfuls of blood, and one of his legs was broken. The most despicable was that old pervert, who later deliberately brought Zhao Center along every time, leaving Xiaoyu beaten half to death. He even forced Xiaoyu to dress as a girl and endure humiliation, beatings, and abuse from his own son. The seed of darkness was planted during that time. Which is why Xiaoyu finds it hard to trust others easily and fears betrayal and abandonment even more. A sharp pain twisted in my heart. I wanted to speak, but tears fell first. Pei Ziyu looked at me in flustered confusion, hastily wiping away my tears. Elder sister, don't cry, it's all in the past. The pain left me long ago. I gripped his hand tightly, staring at him with unwavering determination. Don't be afraid, Xiaoyu, from now on, your elder sister will protect you. In the days that followed, as soon as school was dismissed, I would firmly stand guard outside the east courtyard, leaving Zhao Center no opportunity to take advantage, and Pei Ziyu proved himself remarkably well. Within just a month of starting school, he ranked among the top 3 in the examinations. As a result, even mother softened her stance and sent Pei Ziyu many high-quality writing brushes, ink, and paper. I thought peaceful days could continue like this. But this holiday break brought an unexpected turn. That day, Pei Ziyu said he had left some schoolwork at the academy and went out early in the morning to retrieve it. Taking advantage of his absence, I went to the pastry shop in the southern part of the city to buy his favorite Yunpian cake. Little did I expect that as soon as I got my hands on the warm oil paper package, the barrage of comments suddenly appeared again. Hurry, darling, Xiaoyu's been beaten up, go save him at the academy. Why isn't the villain fighting back? He looks inches from death, he's even coughing blood, all because of that female side character. My heart clenched. Without finishing the barrage of comments, I immediately ordered the coachman to turn the carriage around. The carriage traveled for quite a while before arriving at the academy. Suppressing the panic in my heart, I jumped off the carriage and casually took the broom leaning against the side door with me. I ran toward the location revealed by the barrage comments and soon found Pei Ziyu, beaten to within an inch of his life. Zhao Center was currently stepping on his back, viciously yanking Pei Ziyu's hair as he snarled, "You little bastard, did you think I'd be afraid of you just because you latched onto Xu Lingyi's coattails? Even if Xu Lingyi possesses vast wealth, she's still just a sheltered young lady who values her reputation above all. What if I were to spread rumors about the Prime Minister's legitimate daughter having an affair with a male brothel worker? Do you think the Xu family would still keep this worthless dog like you?" Pei Ziyu was already beaten to the point of gasping for breath, yet upon hearing this, he still raised his head and spat fiercely onto Zhao Center's face. This act completely enraged Zhao Center. He violently tore open Pei Ziyu's collar, his face flashing with a lewd expression. "I suppose you've forgotten the suffering you endured as a child. Let me refresh your memory for you. Let's see how long your arrogance can last." His words were abruptly cut off as I grabbed a broom and smashed it hard against his head the next instant. A crimson hue spread as Zhao Chen's body went limp like noodles. Still furious, I delivered several hard kicks to his backside. Pei Ziyu seemed to sense something, straining to widen his unfocused eyes as he searched for the source of the voice. "Elder sister," I wanted to embrace him, but he dodged away, his voice barely audible. "Don't touch me, I'm filthy." I could no longer hold back and, ignoring his resistance, tightly embraced him. "I'm sorry, Xiaoyu, your sister came too late. Don't be afraid, your sister will take you home." As soon as the words left my lips, Pei Ziyu's eyes, as if unable to hold on any longer, slowly closed, his face as pale as paper. The last taut string in my heart snapped, trembling uncontrollably. I could no longer utter a word. When my parents saw Pei Ziyu and me, their faces turned pale with fright. Pei Ziyu's breath was as faint as a thread, and the blood from his wounds mixed with mud, staining his white robe black. Fortunately, I had instructed the coachman beforehand to summon the house physician in time. After confirming that Pei Ziyu's condition had stabilized, I turned to leave the estate but was stopped by my mother. "Lingy, where are you going looking like that?" I moved my stiff neck slightly, my gaze icy cold. "Xiaoyu didn't fight back to protect my reputation. I'm the reason he's hurt this badly, so I'll make Zhao Center pay 1,000-fold for what he did to him." Mother frowned deeply, her gaze stern and sharp, the atmosphere heavy with silence. After what felt like an eternity, her arms that had been blocking me slowly lowered, and she merely said, "Make it clean." Pei Ziyu suffered injuries to his heart and lungs, running a high fever for 7 days before gradually stabilizing. The moment I saw him open his eyes, I grabbed his head and bawled my eyes out, snot and tears streaming down my face. Pei Ziyu looked both amused and exasperated, eventually patting my back gently to comfort me. "Big sis, don't cry, see, I'm fine now." While the villains finally awake, I was so scared the author was going to start torturing us again. "Mom, my ship is finally sailing. Xiaoyu and Xiaoyi, may your love last forever." Xiaoyi was crying like a boiling kettle. Lololol. Folks, brace yourselves for the climax. Just as I reached the last line, the door burst open with a bang. Turning my head, I saw my father and mother standing stiffly at the doorway, staring straight in our direction. Pei Ziyu belatedly pushed me away, his gaze evasive as a flush rapidly spread across his cheeks. Ha 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 ha, what a mortifying scene. Young lovers caught in the act by their parents. Stop talking, I'm already cringing for them. After a long silence, Mother cleared her throat to break the awkwardness. Don't ever do this again. There should be boundaries between men and women. Xiaoyu, how are you feeling now? Pei Ziyu's eyes widened in shock. After all, his mother had never shown him more than polite courtesy before, let alone addressed him with such affectionate familiarity. He stammered in reply, "Madam, I'm almost fully recovered." Mother nodded and sat down by the bed, taking his hand as she said, "This time you were injured because of Ye. Our Shu family owes you an apology. Rest assured, Zhao Center has paid a heavy price this time, and we've also dealt with the Vice Minister of Rights properly." Pei Ziyu cast a puzzled glance at me. I responded with a playful wink as my thoughts drifted back to that day. After leaving that day, I summoned all my hidden guards. They were left to me by my elder sister before her passing, my most loyal confidants. After much deliberation, I finally devised a perfect plan to punish Zhao Center. After giving detailed instructions, my covert guards swiftly sprang into action. By evening, once they had cleaned up all traces, I disguised myself and went to the most bustling tea house in the capital, where I sought out a storyteller. Sure enough, within 3 days, rumors spread like wildfire through the capital how the son of the Minister of Rights not only had a penchant for male companionship but also secretly engaged in the flesh trade. It was said that on that night, Zhao Center never returned home. The Minister of Rights, having somehow gotten wind of the news, immediately made a grand spectacle of storming the Chunfang garden to apprehend him. As soon as he opened the door, he was so furious he nearly fainted, blocking the entrance to prevent anyone from entering. But a few sharp-eyed onlookers still managed to catch a glimpse inside the room. Women's clothes were scattered everywhere. Zhao Center was heavily made up and entangled with a burly man. Not only that, his body was covered in bruises, and the bed was strewn with scattered banknotes. Once the rumors spread, the noble family that had been in marriage negotiations with the Zhao family rushed to return the betrothal documents overnight. Father thus recounted the events of that day to Pei Ziyu, and by the end, he didn't forget to admonish me. Ye, you're no longer a child. When it comes to marriage discussions in the future, you must keep your eyes open. It's best to find someone with both outstanding looks and character, and preferably someone with scholarly honors to their name. Mother shot father a glance and steered the conversation back to its original topic. Xiaoyu, actually, there's another matter we'd like to discuss with you today. You see how deep your bond with Ye is. Since we have no children of our own, if you're willing, we can address each other as mother and son from now on. The implication in Mother's words was clear. She intended to formally adopt Pei Ziyu into the Shu family, securing him a promising future. Yet Pei Ziyu merely tilted his head slightly and declined with an easy smile. "Thank you for your great kindness, madam. But Ziyu's heart is set solely on attaining scholarly honors now." "Chancellor, what do you mean?" Ha 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 ha, the Chancellor panicked. "This wave of attacks is targeting my daughter, the villain thought. That was close, almost ended up in a fake sibling romance. Heat gradually rose to my cheeks. Even someone as slow-witted as me could sense something was amiss by now, yet Pei Ziyu merely smiled at me without saying another word. That single sentence from Pei Ziyu left me pondering for 7 whole days. By the time I resolved to ask him myself, Mother informed me he'd left at dawn to seek tutelage at the Cheng residence. Old Master Cheng Shu, former Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince, had devoted himself to teaching after retirement, nurturing generations of exceptional disciples. A sense of loss settled in my heart. I had originally thought Pei Ziyu and I would spend our final year together at Honghu Academy. Now it seems we won't even be studying together, let alone seeing each other once a year. After all, old Master Cheng is notoriously strict. Rumor has it his disciples aren't even allowed monthly breaks, they can only see their families for half a day during the new year. Pacing restlessly by the gate, I waited until nightfall. Not only did Pei Ziyu fail to return, but the servants also loaded all his belongings onto the carriage. Mother looked at my despondent expression and teased, "What's with the lost soul look? Xiaoyu was just accepted as Master Cheng's disciple. It's only for studies now, it's not like he's never coming back." I felt somewhat aggrieved. Then he should have at least told me. Now he's left without a word, and who knows when he'll be back. Mother smiled and patted my head. "Xiaoyu has gone to pursue her own future. Shouldn't you also focus on yourself? When you were young, your father and I wouldn't let you go into business, yet you insisted on learning it. Now that your aunt has given you the largest shop in the capital, you must make something of it." After hearing Mother's words, I calmed down somewhat. Thinking of Pei Ziyu's straightforward nature, I figured it wouldn't be long before she sent someone with a letter for me. I curled the corners of my lips, the melancholy in my heart dissipating like smoke, and hurried back to my room to check the account books. Days passed, and as expected, Pei Ziyu sent me a letter half a month later. However, in the letter, he inquired about many people and even apologized for not saying goodbye. Yet he never mentioned his own thoughts, only asking if I could wait for him. My mind was in turmoil, and I instinctively wanted to look up, wondering if the barrage of comments could tell me what Pei Ziyu was thinking. Facing the exquisite screen, I suddenly realized that those things called danmu, bullet comments, hadn't appeared for quite some time. Upon careful reflection, it seems the only times I could see danmu were somehow related to Pei Ziyu. Could it be that the distance was too great, making the danmu invisible? "Young mistress, are you ready? Steward Lin is urging you to go check the inventory." Xiao Tao's call snapped me out of my thoughts, and without further hesitation, I hurried back to the shop. Little did I know that Pei Ziyu would be gone for 5 years, during which he never once returned home. In the first year, my heart felt hollow, so I frequently wrote letters to Pei Ziyu, filling an entire box with our correspondence. By the second year, I seemed to have grown accustomed to Pei Ziyu's absence, and the frequency of my letters dwindled as life grew busier. In the third year, Pei Ziyu achieved excellent results in his first examination, while the profits from my shops multiplied several times due to good management. In the fourth year, Pei Ziyu came of age, but as I was traveling south for business, I could only send gifts back. That night, I dreamed of the young man's vague figure. In the fifth year, Pei Ziyu passed the imperial examination and became a jinsha, while I was summoned back by my mother for a marriage arrangement. When the carriage arrived, it was New Year's Day. In the dim twilight, I saw my mother waiting for me. The moment we stepped out of the car, she pinched my cheeks and examined me closely, tears welling up in her eyes. "You've been gone so long without sending word, you heartless little thing. How could you have gotten so thin?" Just as I was about to answer, she tugged me toward the door, murmuring, "Come inside first, your father and Xiaoyu have been waiting for you. Xiaoyu has grown into such a handsome and elegant young man now, you must take a good look at him later." My mother led me dreamily halfway there, and it wasn't until I caught sight of that figure that I suddenly snapped out of my daze. He was dressed in a moon-white robe, with silver threads faintly visible at the lapels and cuffs. A cyan green belt accentuated his slender waist, making him appear even more refined. As if sensing something, he turned his head and our eyes met. His ink-black pupils instantly brightened with recognition. "Sister, you're back." With just this glance, it felt as though I had returned to those days spent constantly by his side, rediscovering that youth who always clung to me most. His burning gaze remained fixed on me until the moment of departure. With a resigned sigh, I prepared to personally escort him back to the academy. Pei Ziyu, seeing his scheme succeed, happily boarded the carriage and stuck to my side like sticky candy. The young man tugged at my sleeve, smiling brightly at me. "Sister, have you forgotten all about me these years? Why haven't you written me any letters?" I moved further away, speaking in a sulky tone. But don't I send you birthday gifts every year? Besides, even if I wrote you letters, you might not have time to reply. He fell silent at that. Something flickering in his eyes before he abruptly changed the subject. I listened quietly throughout the journey, but when the carriage came to a stop, he suddenly took my hand. Elder sister, could you wait for me a little longer? I felt the slight coolness in my palm, and something in my heart finally settled. Just as I was about to respond, a woman's voice came from outside the carriage. Ziyu, come down quickly, what are you hiding in there for? And then, in the dimly lit carriage, I saw the long-lost barrage of comments again. The sound of footsteps grew closer. I withdrew my gaze, forced a smile, and actively pulled my hand free. Pei Ziyu's brows furrowed slightly, but ultimately, urged by the woman's voice, he quickly exited the car. I watched as the slender woman held up a lantern for him, clinging to his side while speaking softly about something. My hand hanging at my side clenched slightly. My heart scalded by bitterness as my eyes fell on the latest line of bullet comments. The original female lead Chengman has already spent 5 years with the antagonist. How come our supporting female character is only returning now, late at night? I tossed and turned in bed, my mind tangled in complete chaos. My thoughts uncontrollably drifted back to the words from the bullet comments. Guess the author managed to tie it all together. The original female lead turns out to be Cheng Shu's granddaughter Cheng Man. Their meeting was destined. The most awkward part is that not only does Cheng Shu want to arrange Cheng Man's marriage to Xiaoyu, but Cheng Man herself also seems to have feelings for him. Over these 5 years, she hasn't just been caring for Xiaoyu's well-being, she's constantly sent him pastries and medicine, even without emotions to start with. Feelings would naturally develop. No way. Does this mean the couple I've been shipping is doomed to a bad ending? I snapped out of my memories and let out a slow breath. There's less than a month left before Pei Ziyu takes the palace examination. This is no time to disturb him. The month passed swiftly. I stopped deliberately inquiring about Pei Ziyu's news, focusing solely on the shop. It was Mother, in contrast, who finally grew impatient and placed portraits of eligible bachelors from the capital before me. She gazed long into my eyes, then patted my hand and said, "Yeah, I know you've been waiting for an answer, but you've waited 5 years, now it's time to start planning for yourself." I stared blankly at the scroll before me, ultimately choosing to accept it. What was never spoken aloud perhaps never existed from the very beginning. The first time I met Pei Ziyu, they told me his destined heroine wasn't me. On the day Pei Ziyu achieved first place in the imperial examinations, the streets near the Meridian Gate were packed with commoners, amidst the deafening sounds of gongs, drums, and firecrackers. He donned a crimson python robe with golden floral adornments and nimbly mounted his horse. The crowd roared with excitement for him. Pei Ziyu's gaze was clear and bright as he turned his head, seemingly searching for something in the throng. Shoulder to shoulder, the people swayed like blurred shadows. My eyes remained fixed on Pei Ziyu's until our gazes collided across the sea of faces. His eyebrows lifted slightly as he flashed an unrestrained smile, white canines half revealed, just like his youthful self. I wanted to return his smile, but my view was suddenly blocked by a pair of hands raised high in front of me. The woman waving excitedly at Pei Ziyu was Cheng Man. So, who had Pei Ziyu been smiling at just now? Black threads coiled tightly around my heart, making it hard to breathe, so I tugged Xiao Dao along and hurried back to the Shu residence ahead of the others. My parents had already received the news and were busy instructing the servants to prepare for tonight's banquet. Like a wandering spirit, I was about to drift back to my room when Mother caught me by the sleeve. "Yeah, second young Master Qin has invited you to Chisheng Tower tonight for a meeting. Matron Kui will accompany you." I nodded absent-mindedly, then sat motionless in my room until the banquet began that evening. Tonight's banquet was considered half a family gathering, so male and female guests weren't separated. From afar, I saw Pei Ziyu surrounded by several people, both young masters from noble families and aristocratic maidens, but Cheng Man stood out the most among them. Old Master Cheng led her to chat with Pei Ziyu, her delicate little face charming as she laughed and patted Pei Ziyu's shoulder. It wasn't an overly bold gesture, but it was enough to show everyone their familiarity. The next second, my gaze fixed on the fiery red object in her hand. It was a betrothal letter. Pei Ziyu accepted it without hesitation, a faint smile appearing on his face. Indeed, Pei Ziyu wasn't a descendant of the Shu family, so his marriage was naturally his own decision to make. I kept trying to persuade myself, but even after downing a whole cup of wine, the bitterness in my heart remained unbearable. "Oh dear, second miss, you mustn't drink anymore. Don't you remember you have a matchmaking meeting with young Master Qin later? I stared blankly at the swaying face of Matron Kui, feeling an abrupt release in my heart. Rather than suffering here, I might as well get some fresh air at Chisheng Tower. So I stood up and staggered unsteadily toward the main gate. Pei Ziyu spotted me approaching from afar, his eyes shining like a sky full of stars. Where are you going, sister? I kept a straight face and ignored him, lifting my skirt as I quickly ran past him. Sister, don't run. He was clearly agitated, his voice cracking with urgency. I didn't stop, even grabbing a guest's horse as I passed, swinging onto its back in one swift motion before galloping away. The howling wind rushed past my ears as raindrops began piercing the ash-gray sky. All the pent-up frustration of these past days felt washed clean by this torrential downpour. The Chisheng Tower stood before me, my clothes already damp from the rain, the chill slowly seeping into my bones. I casually handed my horse to the inn stableman, but just as I was about to ascend the stairs, a strong force yanked at my wrist. Turning around, I saw Pei Ziyu, panting heavily. He was still wearing the red robe from this morning's horseback parade, but his hair was disheveled, his eyes slightly red. Gone was the spirited demeanor he displayed earlier. He stared at me unblinkingly. His voice hoarse. Sister, what brings you here? I remained silent, stubbornly trying to shake off his hand, but he only tightened his grip and pulled me into a nearby alley. Sister, have I done something wrong to upset you? I'm sorry, I owe you an apology, but you didn't eat anything at the dinner. And now you're caught in the rain, you're definitely going to get sick. Let's go home. Okay, whatever it is, we can talk about it at home. All my emotions surged up in an instant. I shook off Pei Ziyu's hand, my voice trembling. Pei Ziyu, go home by yourself. I'm supposed to meet the second young master of the Qin family today. His pupils contracted sharply, as if he hadn't understood my words, leaving him frozen in place. I forced a faint smile and continued speaking to myself. You're now the top scholar, so don't act like a child anymore. Tonight's family banquet is also meant for you to see if there's any young lady present who catches your fancy. Stop talking. The night grew darker, and through the hazy mist, I couldn't make out his expression, only those crimson lips parting and closing. Sister, aren't you mine? Didn't you say we'd always be together? Then why did you come to meet him today? Why did you abandon me? You don't want me again, do you? Burning arms wrapped around my neck just like in our youth, as Pei Ziyu's large palms cupped my face, his hot, hurried breath pressed down on me rapidly, leaving me no room to resist. What followed was a conquest, lips and teeth intertwined, our breathing growing increasingly ragged. At the brink of suffocation, I bit his lip hard, finally reclaiming my breath. The next instant, a resounding slap landed on Pei Ziyu's jade-white face, leaving a crimson mark. My chest heaved violently as I shouted indignantly, Pei Ziyu, what do you mean by this? For 5 years you've had someone else by your side, and tonight you've even exchanged betrothal letters with another. Why are you still pestering me now? Pei Ziyu's expression finally cleared somewhat as he slowly turned his head to stare at me. Wait, what betrothal letter? Don't try to deny it. I saw it all. Didn't your beloved Cheng Man give you the betrothal letter tonight? You can't hide it from me. For these past 5 years, she's been sending you pastries, herbal medicine, fussing over your well-being, and now, with her by your side, you still have the nerve to ask me. Time stretched into a long thread at that moment, the moisture in my eyes finally gathering into pearls that shattered upon the ground. Yet Pei Ziyu laughed wildly and without restraint. So, elder sister, was it because you saw that betrothal letter tonight that you ran out unhappy? But that wasn't a betrothal letter, it was an invitation. I looked up in stunned silence, forgetting even to shed tears, as the barrage of comments refreshed once more. It's the moment when the misunderstanding is cleared up. Thank goodness we're saved. Just thinking about what the villain is going to say next makes me laugh. Cheng Man didn't give me a betrothal letter, but a wedding invitation. 3 months from now, she's marrying senior brother Zhuo. As for why she sent me something, it's simply because I share the same dormitory with senior brother Zhuo. The girl's too shy. So she gave gifts to all her sweetheart's friends just to send him something. As for why she's been so attentive to me, maybe it's because I'm the strategist who gave her advice. Pei Ziyu looked at me with amusement. I remained silent, feeling the temperature of my face skyrocket. The supporting female lead is dying of embarrassment. Someone save her, ha 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 ha. No more quarrels between you lovebirds. Hurry up and be sweet together. So elder sister, may I now believe that I occupy a place in your heart? He leaned down, tilting his head slightly as his bright eyes gazed at me. For 5 years I never confessed my feelings because back then, I wasn't worthy enough. I couldn't bear to see elder sister marry beneath her station. so I vowed not to speak until I was worthy of you. Now that I've achieved merit and fame, I wonder if elder sister would still grant me this opportunity. I gazed at him silently for a long moment before turning my head and ruffling his hair. Let's go home, Xiaoyu. When I returned home, my father and mother were still sitting in the main hall enjoying tea. Mother winked and made faces at me as soon as I entered, as if eager to inquire about my meeting with the second young Master Qin. Father was carefully examining an invitation card in his hands and teased upon our return. Oh dear Ye, look, Miss Cheng is already getting married, yet there's not even a shadow of someone by your side. How it worries your father. You too, Xiaoyu, now that you've achieved scholarly honors, it's time to consider marriage. Don't end up like your elder sister. Before father could finish his sentence, Pei Ziyu quickly interjected. Father speaks wisely. Ziyu has admired elder sister for many years, and today I wish to formally propose marriage. The tea in father's mouth sprayed out instantly, leaving him coughing violently with a face flushed crimson. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. Xiaoyu, you're right, I'll take this one then. Pointing at elder sister, the Prime Minister now just wants to retract what he just said, ha ha ha. Then Pei Ziyu faced a series of increasingly tricky questions from his father, each delivered with rising volume. Watching Pei Ziyu answer flawlessly, I just buried my head deeper, silently praying they wouldn't turn to question me. The next moment, mother cleared her throat. Don't get worked up yet, father, you just need to ask Ye if she's willing. Under father's burning gaze, I steeled myself and mumbled, my voice smaller than a mosquito's, I'm willing. Mother frowned with displeasure and said, what nonsense are you mumbling? I didn't hear a word. My face turned red with frustration, until finally I took a deep breath and shouted, I said I'm willing. I'm willing to marry Pei Ziyu. When I returned to my room, it was already late at night. I was so sleepy my eyelids were fighting, and in the end, Pei Ziyu carried me to bed. He gently stroked my head and said softly, elder sister, you're finally mine. I mustered my spirits to take one last look at the bullet comments. Woo-woo, so great. The CP I've been shipping has finally become official. May Xiao Yi and Xiao Yu be happy forever, together till their hair turns white. It was these bullet comments that helped me gradually understand Ziyu. After spending so much time together, everyone had long become my friends. I wanted to bid them farewell, but my eyelids grew increasingly heavy until I completely succumbed to sleep. By the way, Xiao Yi still doesn't know that Pei Ziyu can also see the bullet comments, right? Can't be helped since we've been labeled as the villain faction. After all, the bullet comment squad's mission is to help the villain Wu Xiao Yi. Several times I almost couldn't keep up the act. Though the villain's love for Xiao Yi is genuine, he's just too creepy. It gave me goosebumps. Xiao Yi definitely doesn't know that from the very first meeting. The villain was determined to cling to her for a lifetime. I lifted my eyelids, glanced at the rapidly refreshing barrage of comments, and forced out a smile. Indeed, but how could this be my fault? From the moment elder sister first fed me, she should have been prepared. The starving mongrel, once it catches the scent of meat, will follow relentlessly until it completely claims its prey as its own. Born lowly and raised in filth, I naturally knew how to make her pity me, how to make her reluctant to leave. The world was dark, but my sister was a rare beam of divine light bestowed upon me by the gods. Such pure kindness and burning love were things I had never experienced before, so how could I bear to let go? Even if it meant traversing mountains of blades and seas of fire, even if I emerged battered and scarred, I would still hold on to her. But fortunately, she's mine now.